It's been a week since the horrific attack in Pahalgam, and since then, as we would expect, there's been a hell of a lot of activity on the ground and also in the highest circles of the government. We saw pictures today of the Prime Minister meeting his Defense Minister, National Security Advisor, the Chief of Defense Staff, and the three chiefs. Pictures were shown on television, which is something that we haven't seen in the past after such events. I think the only time I remember such a thing happening was probably after 1312, what I call 1312. That's a parliament attack, and the launch of the full mobilization of Indian armed forces with Op Parakram. That is when Vajpayee government also declared that armed forces personnel will now come to work, including in South Block, Army headquarters, Air headquarters, Naval headquarters in Delhi, in all their offices in Delhi. They will come to work in full combat uniform, in full bandobast, anklets, shanklets, everything, right? That was the last time I saw this kind of mood build up. So this is a mood like that. And after that, the government issued a statement that expressing full confidence in the ability of the armed forces, but also saying that armed forces have been given the freedom to choose the method, timing, etc. of their response. I would say that this is a step up the escalation ladder. And I know before I turn to Snehesh, Alex, Philip, you've been reading our coverage for the past week very intently. I get the data, I get the figures on how much you're watching us. I see your responses. That tells me how much you trust us. For this trust and affection, I wholeheartedly thank you on behalf of all my colleagues. In addition, let me also request you that you take a paid subscription. If you've taken one already, please do top it up, because we need those contributions from you. These are very big and important and critical stories in India's interest and all our interest. But you will also notice that these are stories which a lot of advertisers don't like, for the simple reason that they don't want to associate with bad news. Unless bad news is packaged as entertainment, which is what you see playing out on your TV channels all the time. So when we bring you coverage like this, we actually suffer the loss of advertising revenue. And many of the advertisements that you see normally on our channel, on these shows, do not appear in times like this. So we need good viewers, good readers like you to compensate us. How to do it is very simple. You will see it on your screen. You will also have a link with the description of this video. So please go ahead and put your wallet where your affection is and where your trust is. It will cost you very little money. That said, now, what is it that we are seeing on the other side, the Pakistani side? On the Pakistani side, two things happened. One, their Senate is sitting right now. So the Pakistani Foreign Minister and Deputy Prime Minister, Ishaq Dar, who also happens to be, by the way, closely related to Nawaz Sharif. His son is married to one of his daughters. He made a long speech saying that how he had been in touch with his counterparts all over the world, and he said so and so I caught before he boarded a flight, so and so I caught on a flight, etc. etc. बहुत डिटेल के साथ वो थोड़ा कलरफुली बोलते हुए हैं. And then he said he made a case that India so far has not been able to convince anybody that Pakistan was involved in this incident. And then he says something which I thought was really, quote unquote, touching. You have to be careful these days because subtleties sometimes get lost. He said that, first of all, he said that no Pakistanis are involved in this. And then he said that I would say, barring a 1 in trillion chance, I can guarantee that nobody from my country is involved in this. Now, I know it's only Ishaq Dar and he's not expected to be so diplomatically correct. But if it's your country and you are the foreign minister of your country, why aren't you saying 100%? From where does this 1 in trillion comes in? Nevertheless, this is what he said. The Pakistanis also held a kind of a show and tell. This was hosted by the DG ISPR, Director General of Inter-Services Public Relations, who made claims about alleged Indian subversive activities and read out some evidence, what he called some evidence, and also played some audio tapes, which he said was eavesdropped conversations that Pakistani intelligence had recorded. He also claimed he also claimed, now this is an incident that is well reported, that a bunch of people coming in from Afghanistan's side, they had been surrounded and bombed, apparently, from other reports that I have read, apparently by the use of drones. And he said that was a band of insurgents. The Pakistanis use the expression Khawarij, which is difficult for me to explain in brief, but basically it's an Islamic term for renegades. Goes back to early Islamic history. So he said this was a group of Khawarij who in the Indian side had sent from the Pakistani side. They were encircled and they were attacked, and at this point he said 71 of them had already been killed. That's the activity on the Pakistani side. The Indian side otherwise has been quite silent because a lot of the work has to happen silently. We had a very good speech by Umar Abdullah, the Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, in the assembly yesterday, and you can see the 50-word edit that we wrote on this on your screens. That's what's happening in Kashmir, but something else is happening in Kashmir, and that's one of the reasons I have Snehesh Alex Philip with me. And that is the search for these terrorists, because it's now been more than a week, and this has been so far the most difficult terror attacks to crack for the security agencies and intelligence. And this is the Kashmir Valley, so I would say that if not every square inch, every square kilometer is mapped, it's monitored, and there are capabilities available. So, Snehesh, what exactly is happening? What do we know today that we did not know on the 22nd, immediately after the event? And how is this investigation or this hunt progressing?
See, what we know today, about a week since the attack, is the fact that this attack was carried out by a group of four terrorists. When I say carried out by a group of four terrorists, there were four gunmen, is what the security forces and the security agencies believe, of which two are suspected to be foreign terrorists.
Terrorists, gunmen, right? We don't make that distinction. This is not like some in the international media who prefer one word to the other. Terrorists are terrorists.
Yeah, terrorists are terrorists. So this involves two foreign terrorists. Foreign terrorist is a term which is used for Pakistan terrorists. This is a security term, FTs as they are called, and two local terrorists. Right now, the search is on. There are two sectors of the Indian Army which has been deployed as part of the search operation. You also have people from the CRPF and the Special Operations Group of the Jammu and Kashmir Police. They are on their trail.
If you were to take people by helicopter, where do you land them?
Absolutely.
And how do you secure a landing ground, etc.? So those challenges come
Yeah,
in.
those challenges. But remember, viewers, that when an operation is launched, it is not as if the entire set of soldiers and security forces are moving in one direction, right? These groups are split into multiple groups, and the idea is to try and encircle or try and cover as much area as possible. Now, remember that this is a very densely forested area, so many would say that, why is drones not used? The fact is that, the drones don't have the kind of penetration that they would need, so there has to be foot on the ground, and that is what is being done right now. So there has been some sporadic firing that has also taken place, but more it has happened from the security forces side, because you're in an operation, you see something, you fire. So there's no encounter or there is no contact that has been established. So Kokernak, again, viewers, is part of the Anantnag district, just like Pahalgam is. So they are within that same district. But the worry for the security forces is that I was speaking to people, and they said that, there's this particular ridge that is there. So if you cross the ridge, which means cross the ridge, you enter the Doda Kishtwar side. Now, the moment the group of terrorists cross the ridge and enter the Doda Kishwar side, which means that the coordination to launch, so you'll have to have a coordinated operation which becomes more difficult. So the terrorist would want to cross over to the 16 coast side, and that is what these soldiers are trying to prevent, and they are hot on their trail as we speak right now.
So Snehesh is an expert and he knows too much. That's the reason maybe I need to simplify this. That there are two corps in operation there which also participate in counter-insurgency
Yeah.
and internal security, basically counter-terrorism duties. That's the reason I thought I will just leave you with these references, because these will keep coming back. So, Snehesh, what happens if they are able to go from the 15 core area to 16 core area. What he's saying is, and we'll try and see if we can do a map for you, that if you go over these features and you go over the ridge, then you come into Doda Kishtwar. Doda Kishtwar is the region that we have talked about in the past because there were many terror attacks carried out there in the last year or so. So it looked like many of these foreign terrorists were coming in either from the Samba side through tunnels or from the Punj side through the thickly forested area across Surankot forest, etc. And they were coming into Doda Kishtwar in the hope of then crossing the hump of Pir Panjal range and coming into the Kashmir Valley.
Yeah.
So right now what they might be trying to do is to cross the hump back from Kashmir Valley towards Doda Kishtwar.
Yeah.
Now, what is the suspicion or what is the belief? If they do cross this ridge, then do they want to then find their way back to safety across the LOC?
If I think you're asking me whether they are planning to go back into the
Pakistan,
Pakistani side.
yes.
But these foreign terrorists,
Pakistani side. I didn't say Pakistan because the LOC will take them to Pak-occupied Kashmir.
exactly,
not
that's
Pakistan.
yeah. So the hence I said Pakistani side. So these terrorists are believed to have infiltrated this particular group of which includes the two FTs which are there. They're believed to have been infiltrated over a year ago. So which means that they were already active in this area. Which means that these are generally foreign terrorists who are not looking to go back. So they end up being in that area. They have been continuing to engage the security forces and carrying out these strikes, and hence the forces are on them. So it is hoped that they would eventually be able to get success. So as I mentioned earlier, four terrorists of the Lashkar-e-Taiba or the TRF, it's the same thing, the Resistance Front, were involved in the attack, and it is believed that there could be another 2 to 3 more who could have been sitting on the higher ranges as lookouts.
To basically give them either covering fire
Exactly.
or for lookout in case there was a distraction coming in.
Absolutely.
Like a patrol. Because from what I understand, that area, not through Basaran, but by the side of Basaran, is also an area that the army uses often for long range patrols.
For long range
Going
patrols.
higher.
Yes.
But those are area familiarization and domination
Absolutely,
patrols.
absolutely. And the closest security unit that was there to this particular area was one. There was a small tourist police post that was there, and then is the CRPF camp, one battalion which is headquartered. So the first responders to this attack were actually the CRPF, the QRT, the quick reaction team of the CRPF, which had reached there. It's only later when the other forces started coming in. So that is where it stands as of now.
These are human beings. They need food. They need water, right? They need to defecate, right? Defecate, urinate, answer the call of nature. If you want me to use euphemisms, all of that leaves evidence. How come they haven't been tracked yet? How come nobody has found a sniff of them?
See, Home Minister Amit Shah, was briefing the all-party meeting that was held here, and the Home Minister Amit Shah is understood to have informed the all-party meeting members that the security forces were unable to pick up any communication signals for the last 5 days, right? So, which means but then, as you rightly mentioned, they are in communication with each other. Terrorists, and especially those from the Lashkar-e-Taiba or the TRF, are using a device which is called Ultra.
Ultra. ULTRA.
ULTRA. The first Ultra set was recovered in an encounter somewhere in July 2023 in the Jammu sector. And since then, a few Ultra cells have been recovered. Now, Ultra is interesting, is the fact that Ultra, it's an encrypted system, and the security forces have not been able to crack it yet, right? So you have a normal phone, you have Ultra handset. There is a connection between the
you can marry one with the other.
Yeah, you can marry one with the other, and an information is sent through in an encrypted manner, is relayed across, right? Earlier these
means across the LOC.
Across the LOC, right? Other thing is that how are the terrorists able to maneuver through these dense forests? Now that is interesting, is because now we've been told that there is it's a device called, it's an app which is called Alpine Quest. Now, Alpine Quest is something that even regular trekkers also use. In Alpine Quest, you can you can put in, you can pre-feed locations or where you are supposed to go. And once those locations are pre-fed into the system, then you don't need a mobile network or internet to access those locations. So basically, it works in an offline mode. So hence, the terrorist, before infiltrating, already have all the locations of importance that they have mapped in.
But if you have these
Yeah.
Alpine Quest sets, they will have to communicate through something. I mean, how do they know where they are unless they're talking to a satellite or
The
something?
GPS. It's
The
yeah.
GPS. So
Yeah.
when you use GPS, isn't that possible to track?
No, it's not able to. It's not able to track the way that you would be able to track, let's say, a regular mobile phone, which is using internet connections, right? So these are apps which work in the offline mode, which means that so hence tracking them becomes difficult, right? Because they're not catching it. They are not giving out any signals or airwaves that let's say a security agency would be able to track. Incidentally, this particular thing called the ultra, the security forces in India have not been able to crack it yet. The device was shared with a friendly western country as well, and I'm told that even they've not been able to crack it yet.
Are the forces optimistic of catching them,
So the
or
forces
they think more the time passes, the more difficult it becomes?
So the more the time passes, the more difficult it does become. Because as I said, these are areas, these are thickly forested areas, and the advantage is on the terrorist side. While one can always say, the forces should have covered the entire area from encircle the terrorist and move in.
But mountains, as is always said, mountains swallow
Men,
manpower,
yeah,
manpower, and wooded mountains swallow even more manpower.
exactly. So what eventually happens, and I would, eh, there's no hesitation in saying the fact is that it's all based on luck. So the security forces have launched operations. This is a mega operation that has been undertaken. There are several units of the Indian Army which is involved in the search operations. The CRPF is there, the SOG is there, the Jammu and Kashmir police is there. Eventually, it is a bit of luck on our part and bad luck on the part of the terrorists.
But this group, particularly these foreign terrorists, have they been involved? I think they've been involved in some of the uh, attacks or ambushes in the past as well.
Absolutely. So this particular group of foreign terrorists, in which one has been identified as Musa, and he's supposed to be a very well trained terrorist. This particular group is believed to be involved in certain other ambushes, in not in the Kashmir side, but in the Jammu
Yeah,
side.
that's the area from where they infiltrated and came in towards the valley.
Absolutely. So interestingly, is that while we speak about security lapses and intelligence lapses, I'm told that there were an input given by one of the intelligencies about them being spotted in a location in Kashmir itself. So one will now we are working on that story, trying to get more details on it. But the fact is that these terrorists are believed to have been involved in past attacks also.
Particularly that attack on the Air Force vehicle.
Yes, so they are believed to be the same group which carried out that ambush as well.
Yeah, and that led to some fatalities
Yes.
on the army,
Yeah,
on the Air
Air
Force's
Force
side,
side. Yeah.
Indian Air Force's side. So, Snehesh, this will now go on. Is the army, the police, JK police is also critical to this, and security forces, generally intelligence agencies, are they using any new methods and tactics or new technologies?
As far as technology is concerned, what they are using in terms of is, all of them have new vehicles, they have new weapon systems, new headgear, new body armor that is there. The usage of drones is there.
So it's very difficult to do that job. Plus, in the mountains, Kashmir mountains in particular, weather can go up and down
Absolutely.
all the time. A fully moonlit night can become fully dark just because a cloud comes up. That's the hazard or challenge in mountains. So this will go on for some time, this cat and mouse. It looks like, however, from what Snehesh is telling us, that these are not particularly people who want to escape back to the safety of the Pakistani control side. They've been here for more than a year. They've been carrying out a series of ambushes and attacks, and looks like they've come with the idea of staying on unless they get caught in an encounter
Yeah.
and either die or are apprehended. This is going to be quite a manhunt. Let's keep track of that. Meanwhile, just to take you back to where we started, the Pakistanis today have drawn a great deal of comfort from what the Chinese have said. They see the Chinese statement as supportive of them, because the Chinese have said that they are deeply conscious of Pakistan's security needs and they will keep on helping the Pakistanis. And also the Turks have said some similar stuff also. So those two things have happened on the Pakistani side. On our side, there are these statements from Tulsi Gabbard, the Director of National Intelligence, and also Kash Patel,
Yeah.
the FBI chief, who both promised cooperation and help in getting hold of these terrorists and the perpetrators of this terrible, terrible attack. Once again, it's a game that's now playing out at a certain level. However, you can never be sure when it might take a dramatic turn. As it takes those turns and twists, we will be there with you to bring you the best insights that we can without ever shouting, screaming, calling names.